So that's cool. I'm
No
really
worries.
happy that you've been able to join me, man.
Oh yeah, yeah, man. This is important, and I love the way that you're going with your direction. You're really trying to help us diasporans, and I really appreciate that because with everything going on, we need that right now.
Man, I'll tell you something. It's I wish I could spill the beans here on Zoom, on this Zoom meeting, but it's
I know.
even worse than what you think.
I know.
I've just been keeping so much stuff to myself at this moment. It's crazy, but it's going to come out, and hopefully things will smooth out. But at this moment, it just looks like it's getting worse, and I don't like being negative. It's a shame. It's a real shame. But yeah, we're getting there. We're getting there. Oh, man.
No doubt. No doubt. I know there's only so much listening to you. I know there's only so much that you can reveal, but people are revealing themselves as well. So yeah.
A lot of people have given me information and they've done it in confidence, knowing that I'm going to keep their identification as a secret. And some people, of course, they know that if they give me this information, but they know if I put it onto the internet, I put it onto a video, the people in power, they will know it's them because only one person knows that information. So there's a lot of brave people out there who are sharing this information with me because they know something is up.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really appreciate that. Really appreciate that. But this is not about, I mean, we're going to get into our Kathy perhaps a little later on, but this is more about you, you know?
Okay.
This is more about you and about your work, your activism work. Okay. Just tell, I mean, obviously not a lot of people will know who you are. Just give people a brief overview of who you are and the work you've done.
Okay. All right. So my name is Sumumba Sobukwe. That is my decolonized name. And basically I've done a lot of work, I guess, since 1985 when I first joined the Black Student Union. I'm 52 years old. I'll be 53 in January. So when I was a junior in high school, I joined the Black Student Union. And for the most part, off and on, but for the most part, I've been activist. In the last 10 years or so, I've been active with the Occupy Wall Street movement. I started a group in there called OccuEvolve because we felt the movement wasn't addressing the needs of people of African descent and other oppressed communities and peoples. So we started that, and we started doing actions that were addressed towards issues that affect us: gentrification, police brutality, environment, healthcare, other issues. And I was involved with that group. I started that group and was involved with that group from 2012 to 2017 for the most part. And then within that time, 2014, 2015, I also started doing events in the name of Black Lives Matter. I think I brought this up in one of your posts. And the first actions, this is here in New York City. I live in the Bronx now, which is a whole nother story. But we did some of the first actions in Black Lives Matter in their name. And, you know, we saw some of the, you know, when it was being born here. Even before that, in 2012, Trayvon Martin was killed. We were active then, but even during that time, there was another young man named Romali Graham who was killed here in the Bronx, not too far from where I am now, by the police. He was an 18-year-old youth that was followed into his home and killed by the police. Long story short, they came in with a no-knock warrant and they got in through the back door and they shot him through the bathroom door. And so we organized with a group here that was started called Occupy the Bronx, and they're now called Take Back the Bronx. But they started also as Occupy Wall Street. People don't understand. Occupy Wall Street was kind of, we did a lot of things within the movement that people don't understand. The movement that you see now, Black Lives Matter and other resistance movements, they took a lot from what we were doing in Occupy Wall Street and then later OccuEvolve. So I've been working in that, and since 2017, I've been really just trying to distill information towards our community and towards, you know, all of humanity. Also, I'm also president and founder of this group called the Ma'at series, which is a series of workshops, trainings, professional development, seminars that work on developing human beings, youth development, professional development, teaching social workers and teachers how to become better social workers and teachers, teaching youth how to become adults to address the issues in our community. But because of coronavirus, I haven't been able to do trainings, in-house trainings, of course. So now with this new technology that you've helped me learn today, I hope to be doing some Zoom meetings and trainings of that sort. I think that it's important now that we see, if we're talking about the diaspora, and ADOS is a group that that you brought up and that a lot of people brought up, I don't identify with. I say that maybe we should call ourselves ADOT, which is African Descendants of the Enslaved. But there's another catchy name that I forgot as well. But, you know, so I have some issues with ADOS. I don't want to get too deep. You know, my page is still new and I don't need all the hate coming just yet. I'm not quite ready for it. But we can talk about that. But I'm really glad that you have your platform. I watch other platforms. I wasn't familiar with the Art Cathy saga or Gambia saga. I knew about Black Acres and Black Sit a little bit, but learning more from you. And then the Black to Africa guy, he's pretty good too. And then seeing some videos by the TNT or K&K group of their experience in the Ghana.
K&K squad.
K&K squad, yeah. So, you know, and then also let me say I got my Cameroonian jersey on right now. I just did my African ancestry DNA. I got the results, and
wow,
that's important. That's important, yeah. So it seems that I am from, I think it's the Bioko Island that's off of Cameroon's coast. Like,
wow.
Yeah, it's Equatorial Guinea is part of that nation. Yeah. And so my ancestry said that I am part them, and also I have ancestry through the Takari, Fulani, and Hausa in the mainland in Cameroon. So because I thought that a lot of in America came from Senegambia or Senegal, Gambia. So, you know, and then I thought that I did the ancestry DNA, and it just said that I was from Nigeria, 35%, and Cameroon, Bantu, Congo, 22%. So
do you know something which people don't understand, and a lot of diasporans don't understand? I read this message actually earlier on today, where somebody questioned about African continentals and them not being experienced in traveling. And I was like, are you crazy? They're the most traveled people on the planet. These people get everywhere, and especially Nigerians. You know, I was in Singapore. No, not Singapore. I was in Shanghai. I was in Shanghai earlier this year. No, last winter. Last winter I was in Shanghai, and there were Nigerian shops there. They are Nigerian shops. I was in Kiev in the Ukraine earlier this year. Nigerian shops. Everywhere you go, you could, in every little corner of every far-flung city, there are little Nigerian shops everywhere. They just get everywhere. So you know, and coming back to you got to remember that these tribes, I mean, they were always traveling, they were always mixing, they were always joining other tribes. Some of them were being conquered by other tribes. So of course, the DNA was always mixed up, okay? And I tell people this, I say to people, you can have a DNA ancestry kit, you can do that. Or you can just, you know, you can experience what it is like and different tribes are like by learning about them, traveling in the sort of direction where you feel like you came from. Don't do anything specific and then choose a tribe. A lot of people think, oh, what, you crazy? I could be choosing my enemy's tribe. Well, at the end of the day, you don't know, right, whether these people were your enemies or not. You could have DNA linked to your so-called enemy's tribe, which means that you were part of your enemy's tribe in the first place. How far do you want to go back?
Right.
So yeah. So you now have your ancestry, which DNA, which gives you sort of a ballpark area and where you came from. But if you've come from one of the islands, that's kind of specific, you know.
Yeah. It's interesting because the Bioko Island is 300 miles away from Cameroon.
Yeah.
Yes, I don't think maybe my ancestors mixed up there and then on the slave ship got sent to America. I also found out that 25% of people from Bioko Island, 25% of all so-called African Americans came from the Bioko Island. So yeah,
wow.
I got more research to do, you know, more research to do.
Wow. That is
It's good to have a template to kind of know. Because I could have sworn we were from, I just read somewhere Senegal, Senegambia. And so that made me interested in the Gambia. Of course, I'm still interested in all of Africa and the Gambia. But, you know, to know this now, you know, and then also to find some of my, through the ancestry DNA, I found some cousins that I didn't know I had, so for some great uncles.
Wow.
Oh, so that's a whole nother,
that's amazing.
Issue. Yes.
Wow, you've got a lot of digging, a lot of research, a lot of talking, a lot of phone calling. You've got a lot of work to do. Sumumba, right. What made you pick the name Sumumba?
Well, okay.
Sobukwe.
Sumumba Sobukwe is a Zulu name. There was a brother named Robert Sobukwe. He was a part of the Pan-Africanist Congress, and he was in Mandela on Robben Island, and he was the. At first, okay. So to be honest, I was at a protest in North Oakland, and this guy named E.K., who was part of Digital Underground. At the same time, Tupac was like a backup dancer with Digital Underground. I was in the middle of a crowd. He said, "Go and tell him Sumumba." So then I did some research on the name, and I just kept it, changed it up a little bit. But it was Sumumba Adu. He said, "Speak on the Sumumba Adu." But I found out Adu was Arabic, so I was like, "No, let me go." And so I took the middle name as well as Sankara, Thomas Sankara, as you know, from Burkina Faso. I don't know. Yeah. Honestly, somebody said, well, Sumumba's not really a name in Swahili. I always say that it means he who protects his community or he protects his tribe. But now I'm told that I should do some research on Cameroonian and Bioko Island names. And maybe I will, but I'm going to use this, I guess, for internet, social media purposes. Keep using it. Yeah. So that's
I'm definitely going to change my name at some point, and I think I'm going to be, you know, I'm going to pick something that I really like, something that's particularly West African, but I'm not even sure. I've never done this DNA thing before, so maybe I will, maybe I won't. I didn't have to. I'm from Jamaica, and my dad was from a part of Jamaica which was mainly made up of Ghanaians, a specific Ghanaian tribe called the Fante.
Yeah, I'm familiar.
The Fante, and you have the Ashanti. Yeah. So you had these two warring tribes. I'm not sure whether I am Asante or Fante. I'm one or the. It's likely that I'm one or the other because my dad was from Maroon Town in Jamaica. So it's likely I'm of one or the other. Yeah. So on my paternal side, that is for sure. And then you have what you call it? You have the whole Akan tribe, so these are sub-tribes of the Akan tribe in Ghana.
Yes.
So I'm kind of. It's been a little easier for me because I'm from the Caribbean island and because my dad was from a particular part of the country which essentially was filled with Fanti prisoners of war, slaves from them. So not my father, but you know, he was from a town which was founded by these prisoners of war escapees. That's why I don't call them slaves, because they weren't slaves in all honesty. They were prisoners of war, forced into labor. I sort of have gone in my father's direction, and I've still got a lot of work to do with my mother. So it's going to be fun. I think people now, especially us diasporans, we should be enjoying this time of our lives where we can just send off a little piece of our DNA through the post and see what comes back, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, are you planning to move? Oh, you said you were planning to move.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't move to Cameroon?
It doesn't seem stable, and the Bioko Islands seems like a nice place, but I haven't done enough research. Like I told you, I commented. I was thinking about Rwanda until you did that video.
Yeah. I'm not. I wasn't trying. A lot of people. I had some kickback on that, and I wasn't trying to keep people from going there.
Right.
Just wanted people to be aware of what is happening, because that is happening. In that video, I couldn't show the pictures of what was happening there because YouTube wouldn't allow me to post those videos. They were horrendous. What's happening to the people there in the Eastern Congo, just to make sure that a few European men and a few African elites had their pockets full, and their yachts had enough fuel in for the summer season. It's disgusting what's happening. And these people, I have I don't feel sorry for them, for what's coming for them, because they will have to go to prison at some point. Some of them have actually gone to the Hague Criminal War Crimes Court. Some of them are there already. Rwanda does this. They send, every now and again, they'll send one of the top generals to The Hague just to quell things down. So it looks like they're actually working, trying to get these war criminals prosecuted. But the reality is, they're just throwing a bit of meat to the dogs, to the hungry dogs, and they're just allowing the hungry dogs to eat it. And then later on, they'll throw some more meat once the dogs get hungry again. That's what's happening. And it's just one part of African story that hopefully we as diasporans can make sure that it has a happy ending. I'm sorry, I'm going on about myself again and my bloody videos. But I wanted to talk more about your activism, especially the Black Lives Matter movement, because you would have seen the video I made a couple of weeks ago, right?
Yeah. But
so that was my opinion. Tell me how you feel about what I said, because for the audience that haven't watched it, because there'll be people watching this who may not have watched it. I made a video about Black Lives Matters and about how all the money and the resources and everything else that they have, that they shouldn't be spending it on trying to educate racists, essentially racists, trying to educate them, trying to bring them around, trying to make sure that these people know that our lives matter. In my point of view, it would be much better to forget about the degenerates, forget about them, think about our own kids, think about them, focus on empowering them by educating them, focus the resources and put it onto our children, our younger ones. Let them, because a lot of money has been spent with Black Lives Matter, but it's a lot of it has gone to political causes, to changing the political landscape of America, and it's not having a massive effect. I don't feel it just seems like it's the same old thing. So anyway, so back to what I'm saying is how did you feel about that video I made? I mean, let me know how you feel, your honest opinion.
I felt it was good. Could I pause this for one quick second? I got it.
Of course.
Quick.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, be right quick. Okay, no
problem.
Okay.
No, it didn't pause. It didn't pause.
Okay.
No.
Sorry.
I'm re-recording again anyway. So, it did.
It did pause.
Yeah,
okay,
I'm
sorry.
So that's
you
good.
can edit this, right? I can send it for you to edit.
Yeah, you can, but I think, do you know what? What I like to do is I just like to post the video the way it is. It won't show you going away anyway.
Okay.
I like to because it keeps the integrity of the video, so people know that it wasn't chopped out and segments taken out. So,
Gotcha.
but it's all good. It's all good. So where were we? What were we talking about?
We were talking
Black Lives Matter.
about my thoughts about your thoughts about Black Lives Matter.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we don't have a timestamp on this. Like, we might need to do a part 50.
Nah,
50 parts.
it's all good.
Yeah, I think that on the one hand, the negative, we want to go negative, positive. If so, which first? Let's start with the negative, then we can get to the positive, I guess. Because I always like to hear bad news before good news, because sometimes it takes away. I would say the negative part of it is that some of the assumptions about the movement were true, in terms of the LGBTQ component to it. I dealt with a lot of that, like, how are we talking about LGBTQ issues when we haven't even got to the African issue or the Black issue? Like, the LGBTQ community, which I support, I'm actually part of a group called ACT UP. And I joined them because they did effective actions against when the AIDS epidemic was happening. I wanted to learn tactics and strategies. I'm part of them. I have no problem going down there. They're not really meeting at the LGBTQ center. But in a lot of ways, it's like the LGBTQ community didn't build this country. They are victims of violence and oppression and police brutality, just like us. But, to put them, they have to be included. They have to be at the forefront. Just kind of, I'm not saying they shouldn't be included, but that kind of muddies the waters. Like, everybody must be involved in the disability caucus and the elders caucus and all. And yeah, we were called the 99% movement at Occupy Wall Street, but it kind of muddied the waters. You know what I'm saying? And this is the problem with the left. They don't realize that it's African people that built this country, and we are, with the Native American people, are the most oppressed. Wouldn't be no United States. It wouldn't be the wealth of the United States without 400 years of free labor or 400 years of oppression, or I'm not exactly sure how many exactly years we were in chattel slavery. I think
Right, that was me. No, that was me.
Okay. You gotta let me know when it's you, because I just swear I'm doing this wrong.
No, it's all good.
You're more experienced than me.
No, my battery is going. I've just put it on charge again. So
okay, thank you. We don't want you doing a crazy Boyd and your battery die, but we won't even go into that. Did you have a portable charger, bro? But anyway, so that muddied the waters, and then there was also a thing. I was involved when you're part of the Black Lives Matter movement. When it was started, all kind of people were coming in. And then I came in with a certain view that I had some disagreements with it. Primarily, why aren't you organizing inside of the Black community instead of going to Grand Central Station? You've been in New York City. Do you know about Grand Central Terminal? They were doing their action there. Yeah, which is cool, but really that's the fundraise. You get money from people. And it's like, why aren't you in the hood, the so-called hood? Why aren't you in the Black community? So those were some of my critiques of it. And then they would come out with what they try to do is they'll try to slander. They slandered like the Black male activists. They said that they were patriot. They use they throw out the term patriarchal and chauvinist. And in some cases, they also said that, some of the leaders were sexually harassing women and stuff like that. I even got accused of that. And I got to a point where, like, okay, well, show me, you say that I sent text, show me the text. Where is the witnesses? And when I was starting to make some criticisms, they started to throw that tag out because I had been corresponding with some female organizers who hit me up and wanted to learn how to organize. Well, there was a day when I went into this place called the Workers' World Party, People's Power Assembly. They were part of Black Lives Matter, or trying to co-opt it in my view. But I went in and I made critique of this symposium that they had. Anyway, and somebody jumped up from the group and just accused me of like sexually harassing organizer in there. I'm like, who? And they named the person, which was my homegirl. And I was like, well, show me the text. They couldn't produce that, but because the accusation was made, so I kind of left that group, that organization at that time. But this
was she Caucasian?
No, she was Black. She was Black. This was that bad. She was a homegirl. It's really sad. And then I found out later it wasn't just me. They were targeting many because they didn't want black males in leadership positions. And if they did, they wanted these black males to be like part of the LGBTQ community. Now, I'm not saying that's across the board. That was one of the issues because they feel that they're the most oppressed group. And they are very oppressed because they catch hell from the whites and they catch hell from us, from quote unquote homophobia. You know, but that's, you know, it's the litmus test. So it's very sectarian. And anyway, I'll never forget that moment. So when people throw out the LGBT issue and getting it confused and not having an organic movement that's based in the community, I would say by and large, that's the worst part of it. In terms of it being funded by Soros, in terms of it being funded by millionaires and stuff like that, nah, I went homeless midway through the movement. I can tell you that. And I was very much a supporter of whoever gives money. As long as they don't tell us what to do with it, I'm cool with it. I even got a little money from Ben and Jerry's ice cream to organize. And the only thing that they did, they came by one of our meetings, saw that I was doing the work and said, good job. And that was it. They never said what I had to do, anything. And at this point, the main people that were making money in Black Lives Matter and Occupy Wall Street were quote unquote the leaderless leaders. And so to find out later that Black Lives Matter was started, I think you probably know by, I think it was 3 lesbians or something, or transgender Black women. And the issue is they get most of the money through speaking engagements, through book tours, through stuff like that, podcasts, I guess, where they get paid. So they get money, and they are always, or they were always kind of fighting with each other over resources and money. But in terms of Black Lives Matter in general, you know, I kind of applaud them in a way because they brought light to the issue. Basically, they're a decentralized movement. They don't have a centralized office. That's what people don't understand. Just like Occupy Wall Street, even though we were, you know, even though we started in New York City, they don't have, so they have different movements and they organize marches and stuff like that. But really, it's just like Antifa. It's more of a political stance than anything nice. You know, they do have Black Futures Lab, which focuses on voting, which is important. They have Movement for Black Lives as well, which has really good demands. And then there's another component, the Black Lives Matter, the different chapters and stuff like that. So a lot of the critiques that is run and controlled by liberal elites or whatever, I find that to be true. And if it is, that money is going to the leaders or the founders of Black Lives Matter, not the people at the bottom. I'll
just ask a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
When I spoke to you for a very short time about George Soros, I spoke to you about it in one of the posts that I made. And, you know, I think we spoke a little bit about George Soros having, I think I accused George Soros, I should say, of having partly funded the Black Lives Matter movement, which is the kind of a movement that he would kind of go for. But you were quite adamant that he didn't. Just let the audience know why you thought that.
Well, if he did, he did it on the low, because there's really no checking account of Black Lives Matter. There's really like there's no centralized office. So he sent donations in to help with marches. You know, it takes money to run a movement. So they have to get permits that they have to pay for, which I don't always agree with having a permit. You should just do it. But sometimes you need a permit. You know, signage, stuff like that, putting out messages. So it's likely that he could have funded the movement on the low, which means sending in donations and stuff like that. But in terms of him controlling it, funding through control, I haven't seen that. And I've worked with the Black Lives Matter, not only in New York, but across the country. And I'll tell you, some of the legit organizers, we ain't being funded. We weren't funded. So, you know, the money that is going from George Soros usually goes to the founders of Black Lives Matter, and also media personalities like Sean King, D-Ray, I forget his last name, I know it's D-Ray. So some of the people that you see in social media, and Sean King is okay with me as well, because I'm not sure if you're familiar with Sean King, but he brings.
Yeah, I follow him on Instagram. Yeah.
Yes. So he's like an Al Sharpton of our day. Al Sharpton kind of puts the issues out there for the community to see. Now you can talk about some of the other stuff that they do that may not be so whatever, but they bring light to the issue. And so sometimes you got to take people for what they can give. But in terms of outwardly, George Soros funding the organization and controlling the movement, I would not agree. The people that say that because of his ties to the Democratic Party. Mm-hmm. Is another issue that's important. No one is really hyped about Biden Harris, but at the end of the day, we had to get the white supremacist Trump out. People that are suffering, like me myself. I think I've told you I had a house fire March the 12th, and I've been in hotels ever since. I'm in a single room. It's called single room occupancy now. Trying to get an apartment and stuff like that, still working on that. So when Trump does certain things that people don't realize that affect us at the bottom, like he cut off funding for housing, funding for the city that can have us at least in decent housing until we are placed into permanent housing or till we find permanent housing. So Trump cut off, he's been a gentrifier, a proponent of gentrification.
Of course.
The Central Park 5, the Central Park 5, he came out against them. He also, called African countries S-hole nations, if you remember that. He's also disallowed, they also put, I think, Nigeria and a few other African countries on where they can't travel to America, stuff like that, while shipping the Haitians back to Haiti.
That's crazy. Let me ask you something. Let me ask you about this rumor that all these Nigerians love Trump. What's going on with that?
Well, I mean, you got some, but I haven't. I live in a community. It's mostly Ghanaian. Actually, believe it or not, there's mostly Ghanaians that live here. I live in the Bronx. Mostly Ghanaians around.
Sorry, which part of the Bronx do you live in?
I'm in Tremont, East Tremont, more towards, I guess, the South Bronx.
Okay. I used to live in the South Bronx.
Okay, so I'm near. Well, you know what East Tremont is, or Tremont is.
I'm trying to think. I used to live 160, 180. Yeah, well, I used to live 163rd of the Grand Concourse.
Yeah, so Yankee Stadium.
Yeah, right by the old. I remember the old Yankee Stadium. I used to train there all the time.
Yes, 4D.
Yeah. There's back in the day. That is way back in the days, and I think the new Yankee Stadium they had to knock down a load of buildings to build the new Yankee Stadium.
Right. It's right next across the street.
Yeah. So I used to play basketball inside those buildings, and I used to have so much fun playing basketball there, playing way throughout the midnight as well, until 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock. Crazy times. I used to love that. Anyway, so and I also I lived not far from Co-op City as well.
I used to live up there as well by Pelham Bay.
Yeah.
I lived over there by Country Club near Orchard Beach.
Yes. You see,
so we were neighbors.
Yeah. You had Harry S. Truman High School there as well, right?
Yes.
Right there in the middle of it all. So I remember that. I had some good times there in New York, actually. But the thing is, I mean, like I said I don't want to come off subject for too long, but yesterday I made that video about why a lot of African Americans struggle to learn to accept continental Africans. A lot of them do, not all of them do, of course not. There are a lot of African Americans who do accept this, but especially back in the day when I was there 20, 25 years ago, it was so strange why they would disown themselves. They call themselves Afro-Americans, knowing that they have descended from Africans, but a lot of people sort of were like, okay, we're different now. We're different. We're not the same anymore.
Right.
And it's good. It was a shame. And a lot of those people that were shunned 20, 25 years ago, they've grown up now. They've got kids who are 18, 19 years old, and they've taught their children, hey, you know what those guys are like? And that's the problem. That's what we're having now. But we have the internet, and in the age of the internet, ignorance is a choice, right? You know, people should know that African continentals and African Americans mostly love each other now. I mean, because they've been learning about each other, which is one thing the internet has brought to us, just information about each other. But yeah, sorry, I wanted to go back to what were we talking about before?
You talk about Nigerian Africans.
Yeah,
Trump.
Yeah, let's go back to that, because I find that weird. Dynastemia, you know Dynastemia.
Yeah,
what is going on?
That's my homeboy. I don't even have 700 subscribers yet, so you know, he probably won't even ever hear this. But you know, and I didn't want to bring him up by name, but you know, we have to. And I've corresponded with him on Facebook a few times.
Okay.
Yeah, he's an okay guy, but I came across his live stream, and I saw at one point he had Trump 2020 hashtag, and then I thought maybe that's a joke, but then I saw somebody was like, yeah, brothers don't understand that it's about the business and the context, and it's just like, and then he liked it, or he put a heart next to it. So
the thing is,
you're a double.
I know. I've been following Dynastemia actually for a couple of years now, and I think he is a what you would call a black capitalist. He is about the money. That's right. It. Which is the reason why he talks a lot about money on his platform, and he talks a lot about business, because the types of advertisers which come on his site pay more money for their advertisements. You know that, right?
Yeah.
So they pay more. So their CPM is more. So whereas somebody who has just got a generic account and they're getting paid per 1,000 views, they're getting paid $5. If he starts talking about business, if he starts talking about loans, finance, anything like that, he will get $20 or $25 per CPM. He's a very savvy businessman. Yes. I've been following. I actually like that side of him. Actually,
right. He has T-shirts, books. Yeah. I'm not mad at that. I'm not mad at that.
Business. Yeah. And I think perhaps he might have put that hashtag on to get more exposure, because putting Trump 2020 as a hashtag, and you're a Nigerian type of focused platform, and you want to get as much exposure to your website as possible. There's a presidential election going on as well. I think it's just another savvy move from him. He's just trying to get more people to his site, because the more people goes to his site, the better for him. The more money he makes, essentially. That's what I feel anyway. But that's not to discount that he does perhaps may harbor some of those pro-Trump feelings, because I've listened to some of his lives as well, and sometimes he'll spill that sort of right-wing rhetoric, and I'm like, what's that about?
Yeah, he's an interesting guy, because he was one of the first persons I knew, quote unquote, that caught COVID. You know, he caught coronavirus.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he got sick. He lost a lot of weight. He thought he said he got it from Kroger, because he went to like the Kroger, there's a grocery store. But the way he was talking, it sounded like he could have got it from a haircut or whatever. So that's when I knew it was real, because I live in New York, and in New York, coronavirus is like, it used to be like you would see like makeshift morgues around many of the hospitals. I work downtown, I do food delivery. So I see a lot of the hospitals, and they used to have like, refrigerated makeshift morgue. So I knew that it was real. It affected.
What?
I'm in the epicenter, yeah. And so I wear double masks when I'm on the train. I don't have conversations. I'm very safe, but I'm also not stupid. I know if you're not around people, you're not going to get it. If you're out in the open air, you're not going to get it. But yeah, it affects us. And I'm in an area where it affects a lot of people, Black and brown people, disproportionately, But anyway, he was one of the first that came across with that came down with that was really unfortunate. But as I'm listening to him and I saw the Trump thing, and then I realized he lost a lot of people too when he started putting it, because people like, I thought so, I blah blah. So I'm back to what's his name? Wade Maya.
Wade Maya.
Yeah, I love that guy. And
he's a good guy. He's a very humble guy as well.
Yeah,
and he's got 500,000, I think 500,000 subscribers to his channel.
Right.
And so he's doing extremely well. And I think he's done well because he's not following his aviation engineering career, because he's an engineer, you know that, right? He's got his degree from University of, I think it was Shenzhen in China.
Yes,
this guy's traveled. He's done his thing, and I think a lot of people like him because he's humble and he doesn't start trouble with anyone. So he's nothing like me, because I like starting trouble. I'm a troublemaker. I'm one of those people that I look for it, kind of like.
Well, it's not like
the reason why.
It's not like you're making up stuff.
No, and that's the problem. And I like to go after the people who are guilty of doing things against the diaspora or who have spoken unfairly about the African continentals. I don't like that. I don't like it when people do that, and I go defensive, and I back my people up. Whether they be African continentals or diasporans, it doesn't matter. I back my people up, and this is the reason why I have a lot of problems with this ADOS movement, so-called ADOS movement, because in my point of view, anyone who rejects African people, they can't be a part of my life. They are. Yeah, you're invisible. You don't exist to me. Right. You understand? So So I struggle with them for that particular reason. But have you ever had any experiences with ADOS in New York City?
Again, how much time do we have? This is the thing. No, I haven't personally, but you know why that is? That's because they're a social media group, organization. They're not grassroots. They don't organize in the community. I know this is the information age and social media age. They've gotten pretty good at that, but they've never really been on the ground organizing. Even their fight for reparations, it isn't new. It's been going on for 100 years now. And that's my problem with them. I think I mentioned this on one of your posts, is the fact that they think that if they code their language in almost white nationalist rhetoric, that they'll be successful. They're saying that we're part of the, technically, like, we built this country, so we can say that we're Americans or that we deserve citizenship. But they're under the illusion that if they take this stance, almost a pro right-wing Trump stance, that they're going to get us reparations. What they don't realize is that Trump is not, and the right-wing Republicans are not going to give us reparations. The Democrats aren't either. We have to push the Democrats just to get basic things. We have a better shot with Democrats. Don't get me wrong, but I'm not under the illusion about them. But yeah, so the ADOS people, and the whole thing with Ice Cube and all the rest of that, is very opportunistic, I feel, and very delusional. If you look at Joe Biden's plan, Joe Biden had a 22-page plan for Black America. Trump had, I think, a 4-page plan until Ice Cube came with his plan for contract for Black America. And the thing with Ice Cube is, I love him as an artist, whatever, but it's like and the reason I bring up Ice Cube, most of his plan was written through ADOS. The contract with America, they helped him control to create that. And Yvette Carnell and Tone Talks and stuff like that, they're controversial for a reason. I would go as far to add Boykins, Dr. Boyce Watkins. I'm not sure if you Boyce Watkins.
I don't know him. Has he got to
he does the Black financial stuff, and stuff like investments. Tariq Nasheed, I'm sure you're familiar with him. He's part of the foundation. foundation of Black Americans. I have a problem with him as well, because what they do is they'll pit so-called Black Caribbeans and continental Africans against Africans in America. And for me, my issue is I was taught by Malcolm X, Dr. John Henry Clark, Dr. Ben, Dr. Cheikh Anta Diop, Kwame Nkrumah, Thomas Sankara. And I feel like these people represent, like they cut those those teachings off from us. Our ancestors, Marcus Garvey, they taught us this stuff 100 years ago. And now they think somehow that if they identify with America, or if they kowtow to the right wing of America, that somehow these white people are going to give us reparations. And it's just not true. So I find Adolf is kind of divisive in that way. And I always say the Africans that sold us, some of the Africans that may have sold us into slavery, maybe they're direct descendants of them, you know. But then again, that's a whole nother concept, because a lot of the Africans didn't know what they were selling us into, as slavery was different there. So ADOS, to me, represents a division within our community, because we're all African people, and we're Africans in America. And in fact, my mother's family is Cherokee freedmen. Cherokee freedmen were the slaves that ran to the Cherokee Nation and were protected the Cherokee Nation. Some of them were enslaved by the Cherokees, but some of them also fought with the Seminole Indians in Florida, who fought the United States government to a standstill and never signed a treaty, a peace treaty. Technically, they're still at war with the U.S. government, the Seminoles in Florida. So I come from that tradition where my family was still getting money and still can get land from the U.S. government for being part of the Cherokee Nation, the Cherokee Freedmen Nation out of Oklahoma. So if anybody can call themselves African American, I'm one of the people that can do that. And a lot of our people will say, oh, I got Indian in my family. Well, your DNA doesn't state that. You just say that, you think that because maybe some of your hair is straight. Now, realizing we have Africans that have straight hair as well. So, you know, I come to say all that to say that, you know, ADOS, I feel not all of them, maybe not even most of them, but the direction they're going in kind of splits us, because there is no separation. If you're an African that comes from the Caribbean, you're going to get racism as well. You know, some of the Africans from the Caribbean were brought from the Caribbean to America to also work as well. So if you're a Black person, like, you should get a check. I don't care where you come from, because you're connected to this experience that helped build this country. So, and I know that there's genuine people that are ADOS. I'm not saying all people. But the fact that also, I never forget this, Dynasty, I remember he said something that, oh, you guys are talking about Art Caffey. What about the colonialists in the Gambia, the sex industry? And I'm like, okay, but that's a deflection of what Art Caffey was doing. This is even before I knew who Art Caffey was, and I'm still learning. So, you know, if she's doing wrong, then she's doing wrong. And the reason why she's so popular, I know you didn't want to talk too much about this.
That's okay.
She made some really good videos about natural hair and accepting, you know, the fact that you're part of Africa, African ancestry. So if you watch some of her videos, it pulls you right.
Sumumba, I'm going to tell you what I used to do 3 months ago, right? I'm going to put up a video a little later on. It was a morning message, basically just telling people, just giving people a bit of motivation. I was telling them how I started running earlier this year during the first lockdown in COVID, and I was running pretty long distance. I was running an hour a day, right? Just going out for a run, knowing that I was in lockdown. I was putting on my running shoes and running. And what I would do is I would download Art Caffey's audio and I would listen to her during this run. Okay. Oh, yeah. And this is the type of motivating speeches she gives. I used to listen to her and I used to enjoy her rants sometimes. She wasn't always talking about Gambians and Africans and all sorts. When she started talking about it, the amount of people that was following her went through the roof. And so she just carried on talking about the Gambians and the locals, knowing that people were going to follow her more and more and more. She has, I think, currently 30,000 subscribers, and she's monetized. I don't understand how she is, but she is monetized. So she is making money from her YouTube. So she must be making a just from her YouTube, she must be making between $5,000 and $6,000 a month. Okay.
Yeah.
So because she's getting pretty high views on her videos.
Right.
So she is a calculating person, but I don't think she knew this was going to happen. I think she just is more of an opportunist. She saw that opportunity, saw that she was making money, and then changed her dynamic and focused mainly on just being more about taking over Africa and talking down about the natives. And no one knows where she is. They don't know whether she's in Africa or in Atlanta. I heard she was in Atlanta like a few days ago. No one knows where she is.
Yeah, well, and this is the problem that I've realized. I have a really close friend in Accra right now. I think I spoke on it, and you know, I'm learning a lot. She came from Badagry. She's in Accra now, and kind of have time. Yeah. So I'm learning. I think that we as people, the Africans in America, you need to have family or a friend in Africa to talk to before you visit or make conclusions, because there's a lot of things about Africa that we a lot of us glorify and glamorize, not realizing what the reality is on the ground for a lot of people. And I think that one of the problems, and from what you just said, then this is going to kind of disrupt my theory on this, but I think the problem with some of the Africans that go over from America and other places that go to Africa and start thinking they're going to make money off their YouTube videos, that's the problem. When you start to on money, you need to come over there with money. You need to have money anywhere you go, but you need to have an independent base of money before you move there. I learned this from there's a channel called Native Born. Yeah. And they thought, and they're moving. They were in Thailand, I think. They're moving back to America now because there's special needs, and this is not a great time to come back. He made a video about that, but I learned the mistakes that they made. They didn't really have the money. The business thing wasn't really working like it should have. And I think a lot of Africans get caught in this bag where they go over there and then they start doing the Art Kathy thing by default. And so, you know, some of my most hopefully future monetized videos, they aren't about knowledge and they aren't about Africa. They're ones about Jaguar Wright. I did this. I don't know if you're familiar with Jaguar Wright, but she's a singer that's exposing a lot of people in the neo soul industry because she was abused. She's exposing people like Erykah Badu, Jill Scott, called The Truth About Jaguar Wright. Yeah, but she was there. And she started this thing called Black Lily. Anyway, I bring her up, a phenomenal singer. I have over 60,000 views on that. And because I don't have 1,000 subscribers yet, I can't even monetize it, which is unfortunate. But that's my number one. That's how people keep coming to my page. Because I titled it The Truth About Jaguar Wright. And people came there, most people are supporting her. And then I did a video on Jay-Z where he's talking about her. That's my second most viewed video. But if I just did something about Madagascar being the French or whatever, bringing back the crown or something to that nature that I got from Instagram. And I see that there's some views, but there's not as many views as the Jay-Z Jaguar Wright. So people like Art Kathy and others that talk down on Africa or whatever, or the TNT squad or K&K squad, I see that sort of stuff brings in views, you know, unfortunately. So the negativity kind of builds the subscriber followership. And I just myself, I want to do this in an ethical way. I don't want to be going back and forth with people, fighting people, threats and stuff like that.
But you do know who owns this platform, right? You know who's in control of these algorithms. It's not us, and they don't look like us. Yes. And that's part of the problem. You know, the algorithms feed off negativity because they know people like negativity. They like to see negative news, especially negative news about Africa. I mean, the more the better. I was watching my performance on my videos, and I'm watching my videos, and I'm seeing I'll get 1,000 views here, 2,000 views there. But anytime I speak about Art Kathy, anytime, I get 50 subscribers from nowhere. They just come, like, and it'll happen overnight.
Right.
And I'm thinking to myself, is someone just like controlling this? How am I getting just 50, out of nowhere, So they are trying to somehow push me towards making more Art Cathy videos. At one point, I stopped. I just said, you know what, let's just leave this for a while. And then I had a lot of those ADOS guys come on to my page and start telling me, you better stop talking about Art Cathy. And as soon as they said that, I don't know if you noticed, but last week I started making one every single day, every day.
I know you said
every
that.
day. I didn't stop. I wanted to make sure that these guys knew, hey, don't tell me what I can and cannot post.
Right.
So part of it was me being petty. I'll be honest with you. I was being a little bit petty, but
accountability matters, though. I'm sorry.
It does. It does. It does matter. And I don't think she's going to be held accountable, if I need to be honest with you. I think that American passport that she has is very powerful, especially in the Gambia. And I don't think she's not going to get arrested. I have a very pessimistic view of things turning out right for us, but we can only try. So I'm going to keep going anyway, keep exposing her, keep exposing what is going on there in the Gambia. And hopefully I think she's been following me. What happens is she will follow me on a different account. Right. Like she will have, I think she's got 5 or 6 different YouTube accounts. So she'll just follow me on one. And because I'm watching the messages, I read all the messages, and sometimes some of them sound just like her, without the swearing. Because she will be very fiery in her message, but she won't swear, so it doesn't get deleted by YouTube. She's a smooth criminal, definitely. She knows what she's doing.
I mean, I didn't even know about her, I guess, until 3 weeks to a month ago. I don't know if it was your video, but I think she and Phoenix were walking through one of the properties, and it was like basically abandoned, but there was a family that was squatting inside of there. And so when you made that video 2 days ago about maybe them being co-collaborators, I know you just put that out there for people to think. I was like, that video, maybe it was Black to Africa. I'm not sure who did the video, but when they did the walkthrough, that's when I said, okay, this is Art Cathy or Quasi or whatever. And they're showing that this was a scam or underdeveloped. My thoughts on this is that they got in over their heads.
Yeah.
At best, they got in over their heads, and now they're trying to cover themselves. But when they walked through the property, that was one of the. It was a nice place, but it was like it was nothing in there. But squatting. So that's what I knew. Like something's not right.
It needed a lot of help. It was a nice big house, but it needed a lot of help. Right. But it would have taken a good few $1,000s to have gotten that place straight up. Yeah. I just don't understand that a lot of these big mansions are going to the wayside at this present moment. It's sad to see this. It's sad, but there is an opportunity over there for people to make some good money from the diasporans who are coming in. If you look at Black Acres of the Gambia, they are also trying to build something. And I think a lot of people have been criticizing them because they're trying to build on swampland. They're trying to build on swampland, which is not impossible. It's not impossible. They can do it, but it's going to cost a lot of money in order to make sure the building doesn't sink into the ground, because that's what happens in swamps. Things sink. But like I said, I think I told you before, they are making a lot of money from YouTube. YouTube is their primary source. So you'll see them on their lives. If you just sit down and watch one of their lives, actually, it's a pretty long one, but just watch the donations come in. They will make it typically in one live, they'll make $1,000, and they are doing 2 or 3 lives a week. and then they have their advertising revenue, everything else. They are making substantial amounts of money, between maybe around $5,000 a week. So these people are happy to have this continue to go. This is why you haven't seen groundbreak yet. You haven't seen anything yet. There's been nothing happening on that property, right? So he's asking for a lot of money. I believe they had the raffle, didn't they, a couple of days ago? They had a raffle or something like that, $100 raffle. So, goodness, I didn't watch it myself. I'm going to take a look, but they had this raffle, and I don't know how much money they made from that, but they would have made a substantial amount of money from that raffle.
And it goes further there too. The money goes much further there.
Exactly. If you're paying workers $300 a month, you know, you can pay a worker for the year, for the whole year. You know, you can pay them
off of one video almost.
6,600. Yeah, yeah, for one video. Wow.
Wow.
Easy one video. So that's how they're doing their thing. They're very savvy as well. So I'm just hoping that not a lot of people just follow their footsteps. I was looking forward to seeing the, do you know ES?
I've seen that name.
ES, it's a female, it's a lady. Eat, Love, Migrate, I think it's called.
Yes, I've seen one video. Is she doing
beautiful African-American lady. She's moved to Ghana, I think, and she is a grandmother, I think. She's a grandmother. Yeah.
Oh, wow, really? Okay.
Yeah, she's a grandmother.
Black don't crack. Okay.
No, yeah, right. I was like, what?
Right,
I thought the same thing too. Yeah, but it's something that I've been watching. I'm going to make a video about all the women who have been making this move, because a lot of these women have been making this move for spiritual enlightenment, not really to get away from the police and all that sort of stuff. They don't care about that. They've moved for spiritual enlightenment to Africa. And so I'm doing a bit more research into them. It's nice. It's fun. It's fun.
Yeah, I mean, I think when I told you when I first started, I thought I could just add you to my community tab. I wanted to add you and some other positive people, but you have to have 1,000 subscribers to do anything. And I couldn't even do that, but I can't wait, because I want to shine a light on people that are doing positive things there. Mm-hmm. People to your page, to people that aren't, because we need to have a bulwark, some sort of, I don't want to say police, but we need to have our people that know to not fall into these scams and schemes. And I feel like people like Art Cassie and Quasi, like they have enough talent to just make money legitimately. But you know, you want to take a shortcut to making money. It also is akin to taking a shortcut to spiritual enlightenment, cultural enlightenment. You know, a lot of our ancestors have taught us, like I said, Kwame Nkrumah, Marcus Garvey, they have taught us already, but yet we feel that we have to, you know, do shortcuts now. All we have to do is watch YouTube videos. All we have to do is post memes, you know, and that's a problem. So I keep going back to ADOS, but like they represent, like our ancestors already taught us that we were part of an African nation, the diaspora. So now why are you saying you're a foundational Black American? Well, that you're a descendant of slaves. You're a descendant of enslaved, but not. So, you know, that's why I feel is the problem. But there are glimmers of hope online. But I feel like with all this information and access, you know, there's also a lot of people, a lot of darkness that people feed into, particularly white people here. That, like, we had 72 million that supported Trump. Trump is getting dusted in the overall vote, it's over 5 million votes. But you still have almost half of the white people voted for Trump. And it makes you know what kind of country that you live in. And basically, I bring this up because Trump feeds into disinformation. He feeds into rumors, into, you know, 5G technology and all this other disinformation. And so this is why he is not conceding. He lost. He's going to be out. He's not conceding because he's trying to rile up his base. In fact, today, I don't know if you know, there's a Million MAGA march on Washington, D.C. I call it the Million Moron March. Yeah, exactly. So if you're still supporting Trump at this point, it just tells me that you're racist, basically. And that the black people saved the Democratic, they saved America, but we saved ourselves when we voted against him. But I'm saying all this to say that with the internet and the information age, you have people, I don't know if interlopers is a word, or you have negative people that are now using Africa and playing on our emotions, because a lot of us are emotional about Africa. We want to reconnect and stuff like that. So if you have somebody speaking positive stuff at one point and then they get there not realizing some of the difficulties, and then they start talking down on the continent without understanding context, but still getting people's money, that's a problem. And I feel that's where one of your videos are very useful. Some people will see you as a negative or whatever. Well, I saw somebody said they're going to call you the Black Sherlock Holmes. But what you're doing is absolutely, I love it. I love to see your videos. It just makes me say, wow. Almost that I don't want to go to the Gambia, but I think I saw a video of yours or somebody that was saying the people of Gambia are very, very sweet people. Very.
Yeah.
They only reggae music there, but
not,
yeah.
It's not an accident. It's not an accident that Art Cathy is being like this in Gambia specifically. I've been there myself. I've been to that area, and the people are ultra nice. You know, don't get me wrong. But you know, the thing is, though, I can tell you this: there is a militant side to those people as well. There are people there who are more racist against white people than they are against than the people in America are. They are hardcore.
Oh, really? Okay.
This is the thing. Yeah. So it's not all. They're not all. Oh, yeah, all nice. They're not all like that. But a lot of them are. Most of them are. Most of them are very pleasant, very amiable people. But for obvious reason, a lot of them dislike those of other races for one reason or another. They don't have any problems with the Chinese. They don't care about that. Right. But definitely a lot with white people. Yeah, I've seen this with my two eyes. But yeah, I don't want to try and detract people from going to the Gambia, which is the reason why I made the other video. There is good reasons to go there, and the vast majority of the Gambians don't even know this rubbish is going on anyway. So, and it's probably better if they keep it that way and they don't listen to art and what's going on. They don't need to get caught up in that drama. They don't need to.
Totally agree.
I'm aware of the time, and we've gone past. I think we've gone like an hour and 10 minutes.
Yeah, we might have to do a part 2, but yeah.
I think we're going to have to do a part 2.
Okay.
So let's set one up. Let's set one up. Why not? Yeah, because there was a lot more questions I wanted to ask of you. But yeah, it's better if we break this up.